He looked French, but in fact he was as English as Emma, and even related to her in a tenuous way, for years ago when Emma was 6 and Christopher 10, her father, Ben Lytton, had married Hester Ferris, Christopher's mother. The arrangement had lasted, with only the smallest degree of success, for 18 months before it finally fell apart, and now Emma remembered it as the only time in her life when she had ever known anything vaguely approaching an ordinary family life. It was Hester who had insisted on buying the cottage at Porthcaris. Ben had owned a studio there for a number of years, since long before the war, but its conveniences were non-existent, and after one look at the squalor in which she was expected to live, Hester went straight out and acquired 2 fishermen's cottages, which she proceeded, with taste and charm, to convert. Ben was disinterested in any such activity, so it became very much Hester's house, and it was she who insisted on a kitchen that would work, and a boiler that would heat water, and a big fireplace blazing with driftwood, a heart to their home, a focal point around which the children could gather. Her intentions were splendid, her methods of carrying them out not so successful. She tried to make allowances for Ben. She had married a genius, and she knew his reputation, and she was prepared to turn a blind eye to his love affairs, his disreputable companions, and his attitude towards money. But in the end, as so often happens in quite ordinary marriages, she was defeated by the small things, by meals forgotten and uneaten, by trivial bills left unpaid for months, by the fact that Ben preferred to drink in the local pub rather than in a civilized fashion at home with her. She was defeated by his refusal to have a telephone, to own a car, by the stream of apparent derelicts whom he invited to sleep on her sofa, and finally by his total inability to show at any time any sort of affection. She left him at last, taking Christopher with her, and sued almost immediately for a divorce. Ben was delighted to let her have it. He was delighted, too, to see the back of the small boy. The 2 of them had never got on. Ben was jealous of his male priority. He liked to be the only man of importance in his household, and Christopher, even at 10 years old, was an individual who refused to be ignored. Despite all Hester's efforts, this antagonism endured. Even the boy's good looks, which Hester truly believed would charm Ben's painter's eye, had the very opposite effect, and when Hester tried to persuade Ben to do a portrait of him, he refused. After their departure, life at Porthcaris slid easily back into its old seamy routine. Emma and Ben were cared for by a series of messy females, either models or student painters, who moved into and through and out of Ben Lytton's life with the monotonous regularity of a well-ordered cinema queue. The only thing they had in common was an adulation of Ben and a lofty disregard for housekeeping. They took as little notice of Emma as possible, but, in fact, she did not miss Hester as much as people thought she would. She had become weary, as Ben was, of being organised and perpetually buttoned into clean clothes. But Christopher's going left a great void in her life, which refused to be filled. For a little she had mourned for him, tried to write him letters, but had not dared to ask Ben for his address. Once, in the desperation of loneliness, she ran away to find him. This entailed walking to the station and trying to buy a ticket to London, which seemed as good a place as any to look for him. But she had only 1 and 9pence in the world, and the station master, who knew her, had taken her into his office, which smelt of paraffin lamps and the black railway coal he burnt in his grate, and had given her a cup of tea out of an enamel pot and walked her home. Ben was working and had not noticed her absence. She never tried to look for Christopher again. When Emma was 13, Ben was offered a teaching fellowship at the University of Texas for 2 years, which, without thought of Emma, he instantly accepted. There was a small hiatus while Emma's future was discussed. When taxed with the question of his daughter, he announced that he would simply take her to Texas with him, but someone, probably Marcus...